Coming up on this Make the Money and Run podcast episode for Thursday, April 15th, 2020, it's Jackie Robinson Day in Major League Baseball, where everybody wears number 42. Is that outdone a little bit? We'll talk a little bit about it. I'm not sure I want to see every player wear number 42, but that's a different scenario. Major League Baseball has games going on during the daytime. We'll have all the scores. We'll have all the odds. We'll have all the picks. The NBA, prominent player is retired, suddenly retired today. We'll tell you who that is, and we'll go on to it. I'm Vasi Vadaparty. This is Charlie O. Casey Freelove on assignment. This is the Make the Money and Run podcast for April 15th, 2021. Charlie, how are you today?
Vesu, I am great, man. I got to tell you, I could be happier to be spending the next hour talking sports. There's been so much stuff going on this week, and I'm going, I would love to just spend some time talking sports, and I've been looking forward to this.
Make the Money and Run on Monday, Thursdays, and Fridays, 4:15 Eastern, 1:15 Pacific time. You know that if you're on Facebook Live and Stables Media YouTube page with us. If you happen to miss any of this live broadcast or catch it another time, that means you downloaded and subscribe to our podcast on anywhere you can get it, on Apple, Google, iHeart, Spotify, SoundCloud, anywhere you get the podcast, you'll find Make the Money and Run with the three of us generally, but today the two of us, as Casey is on assignment today. All right, let's start out with Major League Baseball. We'll have the scores at the bottom going on right now, but the Major League Baseball games that have already gone on, we'll give you some of the scores here. Atlanta, 7-6 final over Miami, 8-3 San Diego over Pittsburgh. They take 3 out of 4 in that series. Minnesota and Boston tied at 3-3 in the top of the 8th. The White Sox have a 1-0 lead on the heel of Carlos Rodon's no-hitter last night in the 6th inning over the Indians. Seattle won game 1 of a doubleheader, 4-2 over Baltimore. They've taken 2 out of 3. They have a second game that just got underway. And the Mets, who have beaten the Phillies 3 games in a row, postponed due to rain versus Philadelphia. Philadelphia is so happy to get out of New York after the debauchery that happened in New York the last few days with the supposedly great Philadelphia Phillies team. Zach Wheeler got hit up by his ex-team yesterday, the New York Mets, in a 6-1 victory by the Mets over the Phillies. So let's talk a little baseball here as we get to the odds. Coming up today, we've got a couple of more games left in the National League. The Washington Nationals, the Arizona Diamondbacks, Patrick Corbin, and Merrill Kelly. 166 is the total, 8 flat. And the Dodgers, who never seem to lose anymore, they're going for a 4-game sweep. 255, which is low for them considering how this year has gone, Charlie. 255 might be a bargain. 7.5 the total. Julio Urias versus Austin Gomber. Gomber came over in the trade for Arenado. Has been really good. He pitched well against the Giants over the weekend for Colorado this weekend. So what's your take on the National League, Charlie, as we get into basically week 2 right now?
Well, it's very interesting to see what's going on. I mean, everybody's anticipating the weekend, I think, because of the Padres and Dodgers getting together. But everything's kind of not going the way we planned on it going. The Giants are much better than what anybody anticipated they would be. They had the Reds in for the last 3 days and took 2 out of 3. I believe that's 3 series wins for them now so far this season.
3 out of 4. Yep, that's correct.
3 out of 4. So that is a bit of a surprise there in that situation. So that's been a bit of a pleasant surprise. I like surprises. The Mets. I'm happy to see the Mets doing well, and coming around. I think New York needs a change from the Yankees. I've always kind of had I've always kind of had a heart for the Mets. You're too young to remember this, but I remember when the Mets were horrible. And when Casey Stengel took over the Mets after the Yankees so unceremoniously kind of just kicked him to the curb, and he went over there, and Yogi Berra wound up over there, and all those guys, and Marvelous Marv Thornberry and all those guys that were over there, and the whole baseball world just kind of fell in love with those guys. And New York, especially Queens, kind of needs to have the Mets do well. And it's the first breath of hope that's been over there in years and years. And so I'm glad to see them doing well. I'm not worried about Philadelphia. Philadelphia is going to be a force. I think the Nationals are showing some hope. I'm glad to see. You know, we talked about the Marlins and hoping that the Marlins would show some life. Well, they took 3 out of 4 from the Braves in that series, so that's good. So that's kind of pumping up. So everything's kind of starting to show some life now in the National League, and that's the way I like it. I want to see everybody do well. I want to see everybody start making everything interesting. I want us talking about a lot of teams being very competitive as we head towards the All-Star break.
Vasu Vadaparty, Charlie O, Casey Freelove on assignment. This is the Make the Money and Run podcast powered by Stables Media. Check us out every Monday, Thursday, and Friday, 4:15 Eastern, 1:15 Pacific. If you miss the live broadcast on Facebook Live, Stables Media YouTube page, you can download and subscribe anywhere you get your podcasts, including Apple and Spotify. Getting back into the National League status, you can see the score, you can see the odds of the American League and the National League scrolling across the bottom. We'll switch it up a little bit. Just a couple of quick updates. The Indians have come back to take a 3-1 lead in the top of the 7th over the White Sox. The Red Sox and Twins at the top of the 9th, 3-3 still. Red Sox on a 9-game winning streak going into today. They looked like that streak was going to be over going into late innings, but here they come again. And I'm not sure anybody thought the Red Sox were going to be as good, but we'll get to the American League in a second. The Mariners have taken a 1-0 lead in Game 2 of the doubleheader against the Orioles. They played pretty well as well, too. And then we already talked about the National League game. Braves, you had mentioned the Braves and the Marlins. Braves win 7-6. They salvaged 1 game out of a 4-game series of a team that came into Atlanta only averaging about 2.1 runs a game. Not good. Good on the unders for the wagers. And the San Diego Padres take 3 out of 4 from the Pittsburgh Pirates. The game that they lost to Pittsburgh was the Blake Snell game. He got removed after 2/3 of an inning, 43 pitches, got the first 2 guys out, and then just proceeded to give up hits and walks, and he got pulled after 2/3 of an inning. Not sure what to make of Blake Snell and Padres start right now, but as we look at the National League standings, the Mets are leading the East. The Reds and Brewers are tied at 7-5. The Reds are better than I thought. The Brewers, maybe not as well as I thought they would have a better record because they can hit. And then the Dodgers, of course, 10-2, 2 games ahead of San Francisco at 8-4. The Padres 9-5. Big series this weekend with the Dodgers and Padres. Giants are going down to Florida as well. Arizona, we said, going to play Washington, and then the Rockies. Rockies are finishing up with the Dodgers. So how about the Mets? You talked about the Mets 5-3, Charlie. Jacob deGrom does not have a win yet. In fact, he's had leads in both his games. Same old story for the 2-time Cy Young Award winner, potential Hall of Famer. Bullpen can't stop him. That's going to be a big key coming into the year. Philly's got a terrible bullpen. They're 6-6. They haven't hit the ball at all in New York. And then Miami, 5-7, surprising. Atlanta, 5-8. They've got pitching issues in the bullpen as well, too. And then the Washington Nationals coming off their COVID start. Juan Soto's great. Trey Turner's great. Even Ryan Zimmerman hit a home run yesterday. They got 1 game in St. Louis. But Scherzer in Strasburg. Strasburg may be a little nicked up a little bit, but we got to see what's happening in the NL East, Charlie.
Yeah, well, first of all, if you're a Nationals fan, you're always on your hands and knees praying about Strasburg because you know Strasburg's not going to make a full season. Now, what you pray is you pray that the injury comes at a time probably early in the season so that he heals up and you have him late in the season. But I mean, and that's nothing against him. I mean, you just have some pitchers who are going to be like that, and he's never been strong enough physically, and for whatever reason that is. I mean, it's nothing against him. It's not that he doesn't work hard. It's not that he doesn't work out, that he doesn't train hard or anything else. Some guys are just injury prone. He is one of those kinds of pitchers. It may be in his delivery, a lot of different things, but you know he's not going to make it all the way through the season without going on the IL. So you hope that's earlier rather than later and that it's short. And so he is always a key, but you know you're not going to have him all the time. The other thing is that Washington's got to start scoring some runs. I mean, right now their run differential is -12. You can't have that no matter how good your pitching is and be in a situation where you're going to do well. But they're in a division right now that's not scoring a lot of runs. I mean, everybody has a minus in their run differential except for the Mets, who are +3, which is not what we'd call overwhelming. So somebody needs to get hot there, and if they can get their pitching going, that even though there's, I mean, that's a wide open division. It really is.
I think 5 teams in that division. I mean, I would even wager the Marlins are going to play better than they have because they've got a good baseball manager. They've got really good pitching. Pablo Lopez doesn't pitch well against the Braves, but they've got guys on that staff that can throw, and they've got bullpen guys that can throw hard. So moving on to the National League Central now, Cincinnati Reds and the Milwaukee Brewers are 7-5, St. Louis 6-6, the Cubs 5-7. Very underwhelming of the Chicago Cubs. Lost 2 of 3 to Milwaukee, who's pretty good, but not great. And then lost 2 of 3 at Pittsburgh last weekend, who might be surprising a few people. Pittsburgh 5-8. Talking about run differential, Cincinnati was +31 going into the weekend against Arizona, and then they lose 2 of 3 to the Diamondbacks, and then they lose 2 of 3 to the San Francisco Giants. Coming off that series, I was there yesterday afternoon. Great pitching by Johnny Cueto. Really good pitching by Castillo. Not by Castillo, but by Wade Miley the other night on Monday night as well too. And they've got guys in the bullpen that can throw as well. Cincinnati +19, Milwaukee +14. Milwaukee has bats this year, even with Yelich on the nick and on the mend a little bit, missing the last couple of games, bad back. They've got guys like I can't even think of all their guys right now. Travis Shaw's come back; he's playing third for them. Keston Hiura at first, and Colton Wong at second base to shore up that defense. A Gold Glove second baseman from the rival Cardinals is there as well too. And Jackie Bradley Jr. has helped that pitching staff already by playing center field. Playing center field, and Lorenzo Cain and Wright can still go get them. And you've got a pretty balanced staff with Craig Counsell leading that team. And I really like Milwaukee, and I think Milwaukee is going to be a factor at the end, even with St. Louis and Cincinnati. And you got to think the Cubs maybe turn it around a little bit. They're -20 in the run differential right now. They have not hit. Anthony Rizzo has not hit at all. Chris Bryant's the only guy that's hitting on that team. Baez has a couple of home runs, but they had to scratch Kyle Hendricks from their start, go to Alec Mills the other day. That was the game they won the other day. By the way, Craig Kimbrell got his 350th save the other night for the Cubs as well too. So good for him from that standpoint. And then here's the Pirates. They're -16 in run differential. But I'll venture to say this last week with the 2 out of 3 over Chicago and the way that they played the Padres, they're a lot better than people are going to make them out to be. And they did give the Padres a tough time this week, even though they did lose 3 out of 4. So your takes on the National League Central, Charlie?
Well, one of the things, if you remember, I mentioned about when the Reds were like +31 in the run differential, I told you that would change on the road because they do play in that bandbox there in Cincinnati. And I knew that was going to change dramatically. And as you can see, it's almost been cut in half. And when they get home, it's going to go back up again. It's just going to be the nature of them all season long, because that ballpark is designed to be like their old Crosley Field ballpark, which was a bandbox. And so they're going to have that kind of variation. Milwaukee, I absolutely agree with you. That is a strong team, and they are going to hit well no matter where they go. And I think that probably it's going to wind up being a 3-team race between Cincinnati, Milwaukee, and St. Louis. And I've got to mention that Yadi Molina last night caught his 2,000th game for the St. Louis Cardinals last night.
Right, absolutely.
2,000th game. I can't imagine what kind of knees that guy has. They've got to be bionic. I mean, we know they're not knee replacements because you can't do that with. But I mean, how can you have those kind of knees? 2,000 games. It just blows my mind that a guy can do that. I think there's only been like 5 catchers that have done that in the history of the major leagues. So my hat's off to him. But I really think that's there. The Cubs really disappointing. Really disappointing, but they told us not to get excited about the Cubs this year because, and seriously, they did, because so many of those contracts are coming up in their final year, and they said a lot of guys could get moved before the All-Star break. because they want to get prospects back and everything else. So this may be a year. In baseball, we don't really have tank years as much as we do in other sports, but this could be a year where some of those guys get moved. So this may not be a year where the Cubs are really going for a pennant. And Pittsburgh, you know what I hate about Pittsburgh? We know they're not going to be there for the pennant, but they are a pain in the rump, because just about the time you think, well, who cares about Pittsburgh? They'll turn around and take 2 out of 3 or take a sweep from a team that's really in contention, because they're professional ball players and they have pride, and they'll suck it up and just say, we're going to show somebody that we are pro ball players. And they'll do something like take 2 out of 3 from the Cubs and do that kind of thing.
NL Central going to be very interesting. 4-team, probably a 4-team, maybe even a 5-team race in the East. Central also 4 teams without Pittsburgh, although Pittsburgh can make a move towards the end. Not sure where Chicago is going to be. Remember these names for the Make the Money and Wagering crowd: Corbett Burns and Brandon Woodruff, the 2 aces for the Milwaukee Brewers. Their strikeout to innings pitch ratio is off the charts. Of course, you got Josh Hader in the bullpen, and of course, they're putting up runs this year at a plus 14 clip for the Milwaukee Brewers. All right, let's go on to the National League West, Charlie, before we take a break here. Dodgers obviously 10-2, the hottest team in baseball, 9-1 in their last 10. I don't even remember when they lost their last game. I guess it was the A's game last Wednesday afternoon when they lost. 5 in a row they've won. They're plus 32 in run differential. We knew that was going to happen based on the offensive bats. I mean, Colorado, poor Colorado. You talk about coming in there with their hands tied. They've got good players. It's not like they don't have good players, but it's hard to match up with these teams. And I went on a Facebook rant yesterday, and I got a lot. And, there are a lot of anti-Dodger fans. I get it. But you know what? They're saying, oh, you buy your payroll and all this and all that. But I'll maintain. I'm going like, okay, other than Trevor Bauer, who else on that team? Justin Turner was wanted by nobody 5 years ago. Max Muncy was released by the A's in that organization. Look at what he's done. Kike Hernandez was drafted by them. Alex Verdugo was drafted by them. They're helping the Boston Red Sox right now. Nathan Eovaldi is with the Red Sox. He was drafted by the Dodgers. Oh, Bellinger, Seager, Gavin Lux. Let's see. In the outfield, McKinstry now in the outfield. Clayton Kershaw, homegrown. Walker Buehler, homegrown. Julio Urias, homegrown. I'm sorry, where's the dynasty and where's the buyout, Charlie? I'm failing to see what people are complaining about. Take it away. I mean, I can't. I'm singing praises here, but I'm singing the truth here.
Well, first of all, even if they buy the payroll, who cares?
Right.
Is that illegal? I mean, the Yankees did it for years. Other teams have done it for years. The Major League Players Association fought for years for freedom for players to have that kind of movement and to get that kind of freedom, to get those kind of contracts, to make those kind of moves. So it's commerce. Okay. It's commerce. And so teams that do that, they have the freedom to do that. Now, the one thing that we do know is that purely going out and buying a club is not a guarantee of winning. And we've learned over the course of time that it needs to be.
Say that again for people, just to make sure that they understand that free agency is not the end all be all.
Yeah, free agency, buying, you can go out and buy 9 of the best free agents in all of the major leagues, and you're not guaranteed a championship. Guaranteed. In fact, I'll guarantee you are not guaranteed a championship. How's that? The thing that has to happen is you can plant a few free agents in the right spot, but if you don't have a good farm system and you're not developing players to come through, you are not establishing a base that you need to build a team. Player development is still key in baseball. Proof and case in point, New York Yankees. Go ask them. They had stopped player development. Their farm system had literally become the worst farm system in all of the major leagues. And they stopped, turned it around, and now they have one of the best farm systems in the major leagues. Let's see. Let's just use one example. Oh, that Aaron Judge kid. Yeah, they found him, plucked him out of Fresno State, ran him through the system. Now, he didn't have to stay there real long because he had come through an excellent college program, but they put him through the development program. Bang, not doing too bad out there in right field for them right now. You have to be able to develop players. And then, like for the Dodgers, sure, you get a guy like Trevor Bauer that becomes available. Well, you'd be nuts not to go get that guy. You know, of course, you're going to add a piece here and a piece there, but you can't go out and you can't buy a team. You just can't. First of all, you can't afford it. And number two, it doesn't work. It doesn't work. So don't tell me the Dodgers are buying their team. Okay. And I'm not, and that man right there, he'll tell you that I'm not a Dodgers fan. Okay. I'm an Oakland A's and Cincinnati Reds fan. I am not a Dodgers fan, but don't tell me the Dodgers are doing that. Okay. All right.
I've seen all the Facebook posts already. Yeah, I'm a Dodgers fan. I get it. But you know what? 1996 Yankees, when they were going bad, what did they do? They didn't go out of the free agency market. They got a guy named Jeter. They got a guy named Rivera. They got a guy named Pettit. And they got a guy named Posada to start the foundation for 1996, 1997, 1998, 1999, 2000, 2000. I was so sick of it between 1996 and 2001 that I was hoping the Dodgers would be able to do that as well, too. And in the 2000s, they did. And sure enough, they're doing it right now. Let's move on in the National League West. The San Francisco Giants, a team we're both intimately aware of because we live in the Bay Area. Look at what they've done. Farhan Zaidi, of course, coming from the Dodgers, went through the draft process, went through plucking out minor league free agents from other squads before the big money becomes available. They still have all those tendered contracts with Crawford and Belt and Posey, Cueto, all on the books for this year. A lot of it is based on the fact that they won, and these are all rewards for winning, which is what they did. By the way, Posey, Belt, Crawford, all drafted too, by the way. Just make sure we throw that point out. This is going to be the all draft show. We're 2 weeks away from the NFL draft, so we'll give you a little baseball draft in terms of revisionist history. And if you don't understand what that is, look it up, because that's what you do when you make your wagers. You go back and look at the previous trends to do that. So revisionist history is the topic for today. Giants playing better than I thought, better than a lot of people thought. Not really so much more for me. Pitching I thought was going to be pretty good even during the winter. I said Kevin Gausman, Johnny Cueto could lead a young staff. Alex Wood had a really good second half in the postseason with the Dodgers. He's on the IL right now. And who am I thinking of? The other left-hander that they had, the other guy that they got that in the starting pitching. I can't remember who it is right now that threw the other day. Gausman, Cueto, Alex Wood is on the IL. They've got help me, Charlie. Here, who's the rotation?
You know what? I'm an old man. If it didn't happen 24 hours ago, I don't remember.
Well, let me get to that. But anyway, they're playing a lot better. They're playing a lot better than I give them credit for, than a lot of people have given them credit. They're hitting the ball. They're hitting the ball with authority. Posey's come back from the year off. And Aaron Sanchez is also, thank you, Robbie, on Facebook. Aaron Sanchez has also pitched well as well. And they've got the staff, and the bullpen has been great. The bullpen was great. Jake McGee has not given up a hit this year. He's throwing 95% fastballs. It's been phenomenal how the bullpen has been this year for the Giants. And then you look at the San Diego Padres, they've got arms left and right in the bullpen. Blake Snell has had a rough start so far in his San Diego career, but Yu Darvish has looked good. They've got Joe Musgrove, who just threw a no-hitter, the first no-hitter last week. He lost yesterday to Pittsburgh. He lost to Pittsburgh yesterday as they split the series there. But he's a good arm. They're going to get Lamet back when he comes off the injured list as well. And who knows how long Tatis is going to be out, but their pitching and their bullpen as it relates to the National League West is going to be really good as they open up this three-game series. Too early to say it's a major series since it's April 16th, going when the series starts tomorrow, but it's still going to be an interesting series to see how the Dodgers and Padres play down there in San Diego, Charlie.
Well, yeah. I mean, this is the first three of 19, I believe it is this season that they'll play against each other. So, yeah, I mean, but it's the opening salvo. So this is kind of the round one. Okay, so they're gonna dance around and jab and get a feel for each other here, and then it'll start getting into the real battle the next series around. But yeah, it's going to be fun because this is going to be. I mean, the Giants look like they're going to be better than what we thought they were. Uh, and I think Zahidi is doing an amazing job with the pieces that he's picked up so far. I mean, this is not the team that Zahidi will have next year or in the next 2 or 3 years, because he is a forward thinking guy. He knows where he wants this team to go, and he's got a long term plan. And he told everybody, he said, look, it's going to be a little painful, but he's got an eye for talent, and he's been picking up some talent, and he's trying to make the thing entertaining for fans while they get there. If it doesn't get entertaining, he'll live with it because he's going to work his plan. But the San Diego Dodgers thing, that, I mean, we know that that's going to be the battle in the West. And if you don't have to be a Padres fan, you don't have to be a Dodgers fan. It is just going to be good baseball, and I can't wait. I've got plans to go to San Diego and see them play. I've got plans to go to LA and see them play. And thank goodness I've been vaccinated, so I can crawl into the press box and get the chance to see him play. I'm really excited about it, Vasu, because I just think there's going to be some great baseball there.
Cueto, Gosman, Deslafini, Aaron Sanchez, and Logan Webb, the 5 starters. McGee, Tyler Rogers has been good. Wandy Peralta, Reyes Maranta is on the 10-day IL. Matt Wessler is the only one that's had a rough outing so far coming in. Harlan Garcia, Jose Alvarez, Caleb Berger, all of them have been pitching really well. The team ERA 2.78 amongst the roster players right now, so they're pitching really well. San Diego, and then Colorado, Arizona bringing up the back. I want to ask you a quick question here before we take a break. You think the Giants overuse Madison Bumgarner? Because he's just not right. He's just not right, whether it's his back or his arm. You know, you only have so many bullets in your arsenal, and I think all those innings and all those, the World Series and all those postseason, kind of came back, and they kind of sold Arizona some damaged goods there in terms of him pitching or not. Just a quick answer on that, Charlie.
Yeah, I think they did, but I think he wanted to be overused.
Yeah, but you got to take that decision out of players' hands. You got to do what's best for the player.
Well,
I know you want to win, but you got to look at this in a certain way. 3 World Series.
In today's game, Vasu, in my opinion, it's a partnership, and you've got a guy's agent, you have the player, and then you have the management. And you're working together there, and you're trying to find the balance. And you can say to a player, hey, look, we're concerned about you throwing too much. And then the player's saying, no, I want to do this. Then you can say to the agent, we're concerned that he's throwing too much. And then the player says to the agent, stay the heck out of this. I know what I'm doing. Okay, now what do you do at that point? Do you have a pissed off player who says, I want to play, and I want to play now. I want to do it while I'm good. If the player says, I want to go, and I want to go now, what do you do? What do you do? As a team, you can only go so far with the statement of, we're concerned about your future. But as management, if this guy wants to go, and I've warned him, and I've said, we're concerned, this is probably not good for you. And the guy says, I want to go anyway. And I'm going to go. And if you don't let me go, I'm going to be upset, mad, angry. I may even demand a trade. You know what? Go get him, Tiger. And I'm not really concerned about what Arizona did, because I was going to let him go anyway. And if Arizona threw money at him and didn't do their due diligence, shame on you. Shame on you.
Absolutely. No, I get it. We get it every year. In terms of, I remember when Jason Schmidt was here with the Giants, and he signed with the Dodgers, and he was damaged good with the Dodgers. He had one good year with LA in 2003, and then 2004 after the 22 World Series. And he was never the same after all the use that he had. Yeah, it's up to the players, I guess. You want to win, and you're competitive. It happened to Jake Peavy at the end of his career in 2014. 2015 as well, too. All right, some Facebook comments here for us. Robbie, our good friend Robbie, 1918. Yes, the Boston champs from 1918. Janine in Wisconsin. Hi, guys. How are you? Thanks for watching, Janine. As always, Frank O'Neill, my favorite bartender. Hopefully, he gets back to bartending or something. I just want him to pour me a drink because I miss it from the public house in San Francisco. Wait, is the new Dodge? Is this the new Dodge? Yes, it is the new Dodgers wine because that's what I do when things don't go well. Frank, you know that. Go Giants! Close your closet door, or I'll take away my favorite wine. Yeah, I got it. Aaron Sanchez is the other starter we were thinking. Frank, you're a better baseball fan than this. Was Garvey? Yes, Garvey, Lopes, and Russell, the infield of the 1970s. Come on now, let's go. Get with it. And then Robbie says Tatis could return tomorrow if he wanted to. I don't think so, Robbie. That injury was so bad. The 10-day IL means he's eligible to come off, but there's no way he's coming off of that as well. So that's not the case at all. Logan Webb's dad played soccer with Frank, so does that make him sort? Yeah, it does. But Eric Webb and I went to school together at San Jose State, Frank. So does that make me cool? I guess is the best way to answer that. So we'll get to that and more. But we're going to take a break, come back with the American League, talk Jackie Robinson Day as well, too. Today is Jackie Robinson Day in Major League Baseball. We'll take a break. This is the Make the Money and Run podcast for Thursday, April 15th, 2021. Welcome back to the Make the Money and Run podcast. Vasu Vada Party, Charlie O here for April 15th, 2021. The Thursday edition of Make the Money and Run podcast, powered by Stables Media, sponsored by Viget. Welcome back, everybody. By the way, the Red Sox 9-game winning streak as we hit the American League is over. The Twins have won in the bottom of the ninth, 4-3. They snapped the 9-game winning streak of the Red Sox. They get a run in the bottom of the ninth. Let's see if I can find out who did it here real quick while we get to the American League. Max Kepler gets a base hit at the bottom of the ninth off Adam Ottavino of the Red Sox. And so the Red Sox go down 9-3 or 4-3. The 9-game winning streak over as we go to the American League East standings right now. The Boston Red Sox, surprise, Charlie, 9-1 in their last 10 after the loss today. 9-4. Nobody thought they were there. The pitching staff has been great. Trying to get Baseball Reference up right now. They're a full 3 games up on Toronto, Baltimore, Yankees, Tampa. It seems like the division's inverted here, Charlie.
Absolutely. In fact, it's been miserable for me, Vasu, because my boss at the radio station that I work for has just moved here recently, and from Boston, running and part of what he did was run our sports station there, WEEI, which happens to be the flagship station for the Boston Red Sox. So all we've been hearing about is look at the Red Sox now. So I'm going to go in today and say, hey, okay, they're back down to earth now. It's about a 9-game losing streak, and Joe will throw me out of the room. So if I come back on tomorrow and I tell you I'm unemployed, you'll know why. But anyway, yeah, I mean, I don't want to give too much credit to managers, but I think having Cora back does make a difference. I mean, I know all the sign stealing stuff and blah, blah, blah. And that that wasn't good, but I also think in some ways that got overblown. And I think having a guy like him, there are some guys that just have impacts on teams. And I think he's a guy that has impact on teams. And I think that's one of the things that you're seeing here is that good manager. They already had talent, and I think it's cooking. I think it's on fire, and it's a good blend.
Vasu Vada Party, Charlie O. You see the American League lines, the remaining 2 games tonight, as well as the National League on the ticker. We'll have the NBA in a few minutes as well. But just getting back to the Red Sox here, Christian Vasquez has become one of the best catchers. He's hitting over 300. I was looking at their stats right here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 guys of the starting 9 hitting over 300. JD Martinez has had a resurgence. He's at 378. He's got 16 RBIs. Rafael Devers has 13 RBIs. Vasquez, Dahlbeck, Arroyo, Bogarts, Devers, Cordero, Enrique Hernandez, Kike Hernandez to those in Dodgerland, Hunter Renfroe, JD Martinez, Alex Verdugo, Marwin Gonzalez, guys that are not household names are making it. And then you look at the pitching staff. Nathan Eovaldi's had a good start, 2.08 ERA. Nick Pivetta, the Phillies dumped him. He's their second starter. Eduardo Rodriguez, he's their third starter. Martin Perez pitched well. Didn't get a decision against the Twins yesterday, but they won that game. And then Garrett Richards, their fifth starter. Matt Barnes is closing. He's got 2 saves already for them. And they've got a pitching staff right now of guys that can throw hard. But their starting pitching is 6. They're 6-2. The starting pitching this year with Eovaldi 2-1, Pivetta 2-0, Rodriguez 2-0, and Garrett Richards 0-1. Martin Perez yet to have a decision. You don't have to be a household name to pitch well. And if you pitch inside, even at Fenway Park, because they've got Rodriguez, Perez, 2 left-handers that are successful at Fenway Park, Charlie.
Yeah, it's impressive. It really is. And, I mean, we love hitting. We love home runs. We love all that thing about baseball, but you got to have pitching. Good pitching beats good hitting every time. A lot of fans don't want to hear that. And we know hitters don't want to hear that. We know that for sure, but good pitching beats good hitting every time. And if you don't have good pitching, you're not going to win. And right now they've got a good pitching staff out there that is looking very strong. And when you've got that, that's going to make all the difference in the world. And that's one of the reasons why they won 9 in a row. And it's one of the reasons why they're on top right now in the AL East.
Another reason they're on top of the AL and the AL in general, they've got the best record in the American League right now. Nobody with less than 4 losses. Boston just got their 4th. They lost 4-3 in the bottom of the 9th, plus 23 in run differential, including today's game. So when you're doing that, and the second best team is plus 18, and the Minnesota plus 13, last in the American League Central at 6-7. We talk about Toronto. Baltimore's played pretty well. Yankees have underperformed. What about the New York Yankees? They were 96 wins. They're over under total for the year coming in, as Casey pointed out at the beginning of the year for futures and the World Series. 5-7. Outside of Garrett Cole, Corey Kluber hasn't been impressive. Jordan Montgomery's been okay. They don't have starting pitching. Their bullpen has been so-so. I don't even know what their closer situation is with Chapman. I don't think he's played yet. He probably hasn't even had very little spring training because he had the suspension from last year thrown at Michael Brousseau in the American League Championship Series. They gave him a 2-game suspension to start the year. So I know he's back, but he hasn't had very many opportunities when you're 5-7. And this is the New York Yankees, and all that hitting, plus 2 in run differential. So that tells me that their pitching is not doing it, because those guys can hit between Judge and Stanton. Torres having a good start. DJ LeMahieu is having a good start as well, too. And they've got guys on that team that can hit.
Yeah, it was interesting. I was watching the highlights of that game with the Blue Jays last night. And, of course, the Blue Jays playing in that minor league park from their player development at their player development site down there in Florida. And that turned into a slugfest. I think the final was 7-6. And I thought Judge had won that game for him, because the right center field area out there is 354. That's right. The only part of it that's really not major league dimensions. And he just crushed one out there into that right center field area. So, okay, well, that game's over. And then the Blue Jays came back on it, and they don't look good pitching wise right now. And you have to wonder kind of what is going to happen. But, the Yankees have kind of a tradition of not coming out of the gate quick. They're kind of like the A's in that respect.
Yeah, I was going to say, who do they think they are? The Oakland A's?
Exactly. And so I don't get nervous about the Yankees not starting. I think it's a bad tendency, because for teams that do that have to work so hard then once they start getting on fire and start moving, that I worry about it causing fatigue later in the season. But I think they're going to be all right. It's just a matter of the fact that you start to put yourself in a hole, then you got to work so hard to get out of it. But I think we're going to have to keep keep an eye on it, because they most certainly have the talent there that you would think that this shouldn't be happening.
No. So we got a party, Charlie O. Make the Money and Run podcast powered by Stables Media. April 15th, 2021. By the way, in the East, Tampa Bay minus 22 right now in terms of run differential. Their pitching has been so-so. Rich Hill goes tonight against Texas. They've got Jordan Lyles going for the Texas Rangers. Let's move over to the Central Division a little bit. Kansas City Royals 6-4. Mike Matheny, a really good manager. We knew him from St. Louis. We knew him as a player. The White Sox leading that division with plus 18. They've got bats left and right. They just activated Tim Anderson from the injured list. They got the no-hitter last night from Carlos Rodon. How about this, Charlie? 2 no-hitters this year, both lost perfect games by a hit batsman. Rodon's the 9th yesterday at the top of the foot. I think it was Roberto Perez, and it was earlier in the game for Joe Musgrove. I want to say the 5th or 6th inning when he got his hit batsman at Texas last week. But you got to remember the Padres had so much success in Texas last year during the playoffs, and even when they played the Rangers, not to open the ballpark, but to play in that ballpark last year against the Rangers in interleague play, and then to run through the playoffs like they did and come up against the Dodgers. Really successful start for them going into it. So that's just like the second home field for them. But Musgrove and Rodon, 2 complete games, 2 no-hitters, 2 shutouts, and then Lance Lynn, a complete game shutout as well. I mean, we've got 3 complete. I know we're going to keep track of it every week. 3 complete games already in the first 15 games aggregate for a bunch of teams are at 20%. So we're talking about complete games on a 162 game schedule. We're going to have like 30 complete games by the end of the year. Maybe not, but that's just the way it looks right now if you project it out. So,
yeah, it was.
Go ahead, Charlie.
It was really interesting. I saw a stat this morning on Sports Center for the White Sox. That is their 20th no-hitter in their history. That gives them the second most no-hitters in the history of the MLB. The Yankees are number 1 with 23. The White Sox second with 20. The Dodgers are third.
Yeah.
Let's see who was fourth.
The Padres.
Boston was in there.
Yeah, Baltimore's probably in there too.
No. Fifth was the Reds.
Oh, the Reds. Okay.
And I know that the reason the Reds were in there was because in the 30s and the 40s, the Reds had some phenomenal pitching staffs. Like one of their real claims to fame was they had a guy by the name of Johnny Vandermeer who pitched back-to-back no-hitters on starts. He had one start was a no-hitter, and then the next start was a no-hitter. So that kind of helped their stats there. But pretty phenomenal that you think about that was their 20th no-hitter in their history. And then you think about the Padres just got their first in their history. So that
no doubt about it.
What a crazy week.
Yep. American League Central, the Tigers 6-6 right now. They're on a 3-game winning streak. Miguel Cabrera on the injured list right now. The Minnesota Twins, they can hit, but right now they're pitching stinking a little bit right now. 6-7, last place, plus 13 and run differential. So you got to think that the pitching will come around a little bit. We move over to the American League West right now. I can't figure out the American League West right now, Charlie. The Los Angeles Angels with all that talent, Mike Trout, this kid Jared Walsh in the outfield. He's going to be the heir apparent to Pujols at first base. He's hitting the snot out of the ball. They're -4 in run differential, and they got beat 2 out of 3 by the Kansas City Royals, who are pretty good, but they're not in the Angels class, in my opinion. Then you got Seattle, who's taken 2 out of 3 so far with the second game of this doubleheader against the Orioles. They're both 7-5. They're on winning streak. Seattle 1-game winning streak with the first game win. The Angels 2 games in a row lost to Kansas City. And then you got Houston, and we'll get to the MLB news and notes, but Houston's lost 5 players to COVID protocol right now, including Alex Bregman and Jose Altuve. And then the Oakland A's, who have won 4 in a row after that miserable start. You know they start bad to start the year, but boy, to come back and win 4 in a row and have 2 be in Houston, and then the last 2 coming in the last 2 that they've had, and then the Texas Rangers, who are not as bad as people think they are. They're at 5-7. You look at the American League West right now, and it really is a toss-up as to who's going to be. I know Houston's got the bats, but I'm not sure about their pitching. And obviously, with the scenario, they've lost 5 in a row, and now players are going down to COVID. That could set them back a little bit. I really like Seattle. I want to like Seattle. Dave Sims is a friend of mine that does the TV up there. I like the ballpark. The city's great. The Mitch Hanigers from the Bay Area. They've got pitching. Their bullpen's pretty good. They showed the Giants, who have gotten off to a good start. They're the only series that the Giants did not win a series against it was Seattle in Seattle. So I want to like Seattle a lot. But tell me why it's not going to be Seattle, Charlie. Or do
because
you think it's going to be Seattle?
no, because it's Seattle. Seattle does this to us every season. They start off well in April. They play pretty well in May, and they fade in June. And I have no explanation for it. I really don't. But that's what they do. That's their scenario. I don't know if it's the way they build the team. I don't know whether it's the way they condition their pitchers. But by the end of June, we'll be talking about the Seattle Who. And I mean that. I do not understand how they build their team to do that. But you think about that. How many years in a row have we talked about in April the Mariners looking so good, and by July they're an afterthought? So they're going to have to prove to me that they can be worth the conversation after the 4th of July.
That's Nevada Party Charlie O here, Casey on assignment, the Make the Money and Run podcast. About 15 minutes left on this podcast. We'll hit the NBA in a little bit, but like I said, the Major League Baseball notes, we got the 5 players that are out: Altuve, Bregman, Alvarez, Maldonado out for COVID protocol. Backup infielder also, I forgot his name, but he was on that list. Andrelton Simmons also out for Minnesota after declining the vaccine on Sunday that they were giving the Twins on Sunday morning. Tested positive. So, and then Tim Anderson, we said, was activated for the Chicago White Sox. But, that's a personal choice. We know a lot of people who want to decline the vaccines. Science is out there. You can believe it or not believe it. It just, I don't know if that's karma coming back to him or not. I've gotten my first shot, so hopefully he feels better. We'll just move on from there. All right, Pete Rose. Last thing about baseball before we hit the NBA. Pete Rose, who turned 80 Wednesday, has announced a partnership with YouPick Trade. For $89 a month, you can get your picks from all sports, including Major League Baseball. He says it's not a black eye against baseball. He says it's not anything that he wants to do. He wants to make a living because he's signing the memorabilia in the Las Vegas hotel, and Fox won't hire him back, and Major League Baseball won't bring him back. And he says that this is not thumbing his nose up. He's just like everybody else trying to make an income. This YouPick Trade is based in Guadalajara, Mexico. They had a partnership with the Vegas Golden Knights at the beginning of the year, and 5 days into that agreement, Vegas terminated the agreement. So what do you think about Pete Rose, Charlie, before we get on to the NBA?
Well, first of all, Pete's my guy. I love Pete. I grew up in Cincinnati, and we all, guys my age, we worshiped him because he was our guy. Pete did a lot of stupid stuff to himself. And my opinion is that Pete Rose will be elected to the Hall of Fame the year after he dies. We all know that. Right now, why shouldn't Pete make money making picks for somebody? Now, I hope to goodness that this is a legit deal down there he's involved in. With Pete's luck, it probably isn't, but we hope that it is. And why shouldn't he? I mean, for heaven's sakes, Major League Baseball's in bed with gambling interest. I forget who their partnership is with. I mean, they're in with DraftKings.
Oh, DraftKings, yeah, absolutely.
And DraftKings has got
our show is based on wagering.
And so they're all involved in stuff. So why the heck can't Pete be involved?
Yeah, I agree. Totally agree.
Totally agree. And right, he's 80 years old. Good heavens, he never made the kind of money. I mean, if Pete were playing today, Pete would be making $25 million a year.
No doubt. There's no doubt about it.
So I have no problem with it, and it's legal and it's legit. So hey, buddy, go for it.
And he would not have to worry about the 3 outcome at bat either, because he does everything. No walks, no strikeouts, no home runs hitting. He'd be doing everything on that. All right, last thing before we move on, Major League Baseball, in terms of I had a note here for it, but we don't have the note for it. But let's talk about Jackie Robinson Day. How big? Let's spend a couple of minutes here. Obviously, we probably should have started with that at the beginning, but it is Jackie Robinson Day every April 15th. Today in 1947, Jackie Robinson, the first black player to play for the Brooklyn Dodgers. Movies have been made, books have been written. We all know the story. Players wear 42. Let me ask you this, Charlie. I think every team should nominate one player to wear 42, and not everybody should wear 42. And that's kind of wrong because everybody wants to celebrate, and I get it. But I just think seeing everybody wear 42 kind of degrades the whole problem with Jackie Robinson Day in terms of, I don't want to say problem, but in terms of like celebrating the man. I think it should be like a special honor that one player receives, to be voted on by his teammates, to be picked by fans, whatever the scenario is, to have a special regard to wear that number because it was Jackie's number, but not everybody. And I just think that that's something that baseball ought to look into, because I just think I think it devalues the fact that number 42 is as important as it is to the game. Your thoughts?
You know, Basu, I don't know. I'm just, I'm so thrilled that they honor Jackie that I don't care.
Yeah, no, I get it. It's not really something I thought about a lot, but he's a great man, and he did a lot for baseball, and he did a lot for civil rights. There's no doubt about it. I'm glad baseball celebrates him.
Okay, I have to tell you the one thing. Here's my, and we all have our little bones to pick. The one thing that I wish they would do is, I do wish they would do a little something in memory of Larry Dolby, who was the first African American player to play in the National League.
The American League.
I mean, the American League.
They do. They have a day for him. The White Sox do it, and I think Major League Baseball started to do that the last few years. I'm sure that that's the case, because I remember.
I guess they need to do more, because I'm a baseball fan and I miss it.
They do. There's no doubt about it.
I certainly don't say that. I don't say that to not want to remember Jackie Robinson, because that was phenomenal. But Larry needs. I think they need to elevate that just a little, because Larry took a bunch of stuff as well.
Absolutely, no doubt about it.
And one thing this year that is of significance for this Jackie Robinson Day is that this is the first Jackie Robinson Day that we are without Chadwick Boseman, who played that character of Jackie Robinson to such a phenomenal height in the movie 42, who passed away this last year at age 43. Boy, that's a phenomenal young actor. And I was thinking about him last night. I'm way behind on the Marvel movies, and I've been trying to catch up, because there's some things that I've been wanting to watch. So I'm catching up on all of this stuff. And I was watching some stuff last night, and I was thinking about him, and then today being Jackie Robinson Day. So
absolutely. Happy Jackie Robinson Day to everybody in Major League Baseball as well. It's a great honor that they bestow upon. Obviously, baseball getting into 2 weeks, and obviously with the COVID situation from 2020, happy to have baseball back, and happy to celebrate it on April 15th of 2021 and April 15th going forward every year. Let's move on to the NBA here in our last few minutes before we get to picks, because we know everybody's waiting for picks. We'll get to the games tomorrow. Only 4 games tonight. You can see the ticker at the bottom with all the lines and the over-unders and the totals on there as well too. But big news in the NBA today, Charlie. LaMarcus Aldridge retired. He had a heart palpitation on Saturday against the Lakers in their game on national TV. He retires, 15-year career, mostly with Portland and San Antonio. Had great years. I mean, he was that 15-foot elbow jumper that you don't see very much anymore with the game as it is, and the pick and roll with Damian Lillard, in Portland was a big deal, and they just ran that to perfection. They kind of implanted a little bit more of what Stockton and Malone did, because Aldridge had a kind of a better jump shot than Malone did later in his career. So your thoughts on LaMarcus Aldridge? We hope he feels better, because it is a hard issue, and he just retired immediately today after getting the doctors.
It made me really sad, Vasu, because I had gotten to see him play a couple of bits and pieces with Brooklyn, and he looked invigorated. The last couple of times I had seen him play with the Spurs, I don't know, he looked sad. He didn't look like
very good either.
Well, I know that, but he just didn't look like he was having a good time. And all of a sudden, I saw him with the Nets, and he looked excited. He looked like, man, I'm playing basketball, and uh, and then this news today, and I just felt so bad for him. I really did. But you know, the I don't know all the ins and out of this. I'm not a doctor, and I don't even play one on TV, so I'm not good at this. But I do know that men of extreme height have different kinds of heart issues, and I know this is nothing to screw around with. And so I'm glad that he's immediately taking his doctor's advice. I'm sure they'll watch him very closely and work on that. But it's a darn shame because the way Brooklyn's been playing overall, and I think the way they'll play once everybody's back together, he was going to be a part of a heck of a basketball team. And I just I hate stuff like this.
Yeah, I feel bad for that, but that's the way it goes. Other things going on in the NBA we'll get to with Casey tomorrow. Coaches and execs have said that this compressed schedule is brutal and a major cause for some of the injuries that are going on. Zach LaVine tested positive for COVID protocol. That's 27.5 points a game for the Bulls. They're 22-32, holding on to that 10th spot right now. How about the Warriors scoring 149 points yesterday and Stephen Curry 42. You just don't know what Jekyll and Hyde team you're going to get with the Golden State Warriors, but that's some of the stuff going on in the NBA. Tomorrow we'll talk about legal sports betting in the nation. 20 states are legal, 7 have bill passages going on, 3 no legislation on the books as of yet, and then 20 has introduced bills, including California. All right, the Make the Money and Run podcast, powered by Staples Media. Thanks to everybody on Facebook, Janine, Robbie, Frank O'Neill, everybody on Staples Media YouTube page. Download and subscribe if you miss any of the live broadcasts. We're powered by Staples Media, and check out stablesmedia.com for other shows that we have as well too. All right, it's the part of the show. Let me give the updates here in baseball before we forget. Mariners 2-1 up after 5 against the Orioles in Game 2 of their doubleheader. They're looking for a sweep there. Mitch Haniger, who I mentioned earlier, go-ahead home run. Indians 4-1 on the White Sox going to the top of the 9th inning. Jose Ramirez had a 2-run home run in that game as well, too. That division's going to be up for grabs in the American League Central all season long, with the White Sox being right there. All right, Charlie O's picks. Go ahead, Charlie.
All right, well, I've got 2 picks for today. We're going to start off in the NBA. I'm going to work that Golden State Cleveland game. I'm going to go with the underdog in that game as Golden State's on a back-to-back, and I'm going to take the Cavs plus 6.5 in that game. And then I'm going to move over to the MLB, and we're going to work that Rockies and Dodgers game. And right now the total is set at 7.5. And I'm going to tell you, the Dodgers are going to blow right past that 7.5.
Austin Gomber has been pretty much the best pitcher for the Rockies so far in this early part of the season. 4 games in the NBA tonight: Milwaukee, Atlanta, Golden State, Cleveland, Boston at the Lakers, and then Phoenix hosting those Sacramento Kings as we wind up with a minute. So it'd be interesting to see. Charlie not scared of Golden State scoring 149 points the night before in Oklahoma City, going with the Cleveland Cavaliers in all their glory. Lakers tonight, don't tell me how Boston doesn't shoot well. I know they got a big win at Portland the other night. Portland, I cannot figure out the Trailblazers for the life of me. But the Lakers 34-21, 5th in the Western Conference, getting 6 points at home. They're still the Lakers. They're still Boston. It's going to be a game, and I think the Lakers will cover the 6 points. And in fact, if they can play any type of defense, because Boston does not shoot the ball well, I think the Lakers can come up with a win. In baseball tonight, the 2 1 American League game, 1 National League game, the Oakland and Detroit over 8. The A's on a 4-game winning streak. The Tigers on a 3-game winning streak. Both offenses really hitting the ball. I think 8, even in a decent temperature night in Oakland, they'll still go over 8. And then Arizona, Washington, Patrick Corbin really, really good at home. He's going to shut down that Arizona offense. They're going to stay under 8.5. They won yesterday 6-0 at St. Louis. All right, Casey Freeland will be back with us tomorrow, 4:15 Eastern, 1:15 Pacific on the West Coast. The Make the Money and Run podcast, powered by Staples Media. Download and subscribe if you missed any of the live broadcasts anywhere you get your podcast. For Charlie O, I'm Vasi Battleparty. Have a great afternoon, and as always, good luck.